to talk to you a minute about genetic diversity, okay? So this is the whole concept of Anna and Kristoff have 10 kids, and they all look a little bit different. They're not exactly the same. Yes, they're going to look like mom and dad. They're going to look similar to each other, but you can end up with huge varieties. You can end up with a lot of brown hair and blonde hair children, lots of different things. Now, genetic diversity is a good thing. It leads to genetic variation, meaning there's a lot of variety in the gene pool. There's lots of different DNA, and lots of genetic variation leads to a stronger species. So let's look where genetic variation comes from. And it comes from metaphase 1 from the meiosis video, that crossing over point. And so if you remember from metaphase 1, your homologous pairs have lined up in the middle, and then they're going to exchange some DNA. And so, for example, this was Anna's homologous chromosomes from the beginning of meiosis. And during metaphase 1, when they line up in the middle of the cell, they're actually going to exchange portions of DNA. So for example, let's say this one here trades with this one here. And so you end up with 4 strands of DNA that are completely different. And so these two used to look exactly the same. They're not exactly the same anymore. They have some differences. So when she goes to pass down these chromosomes to her children, there's some very different things that get passed down, and you can have different varieties or shadings or whatever. Now, this is actually very relevant to what's going on today. So we have this coronavirus outbreak. It's this new novel virus that we've never seen before, and there's always going to be a portion of the population that's just immune to corona. So if you've seen on the news or heard where it says some people may be asymptomatic, that means that they have the virus, they just don't show symptoms. And so this is a really great thing for our species. Again, because of genetic variation, there's always going to be some portion of the population that doesn't get sick. However, while it's great for the species, humans will definitely survive. The DNA doesn't really care about my grandma or your grandma or anything like that. DNA is kind of a sociopath. It wants the survival of the species, but it doesn't really care what happens to the individual people. And so this is why social distancing is so important, okay? So, for example, let's say we got, Anna and Kristoff and their 10 kids, and let's say whatever mutation caused this like neon hair color also means that they're immune to corona. And so this little girl over here is like, woohoo, I can go out, I can do anything I want, I'm never gonna get corona, I have special DNA, woohoo! But then she goes over here to her sisters who are not immune to corona, and she plays with them and they have a good time. Whee, yay, look, we're being sisters. But now she gets sick, and she gets sick, and she gets sick, and all of them get sick, and most likely they will survive 80% of the time, okay? But that means one of their sisters may actually die. And so, again, genetic variation is really, really good for a species because this portion of the population will be immune from corona. They will survive. However, it's very important that we do social distance from others, okay? And that way we don't get them sick as well. So to recap, to connect that back to biology, okay, genetic diversity. It happens during metaphase 1. The 2 strands of chromosomes exchange some DNA. It leads to a lot of variety, a lot of diversity in the gene pool. This is a very good thing because there's always going to be a portion of the population that's just going to survive, okay? It allows the survival of the species over the survival of the individual. All right, until next time.